Well, good morning. Maybe you recognize this spot. I've shot quite a lot of video from here over the last year, and it shows up in quite a number of the videos in this series. The reason we're here this morning is to try to do a little myth busting. So you might remember from previous videos, just past that trestle behind me and around the bend is Site C. And the reason I walked down here this morning is to show you, and you may have heard this on the news, the diversion tunnels are now in operation, and this is a diverted river. So that's my first and key point for walking down here this morning is, you know, I don't know if there's been a longer running battle of appeal on appeal on appeal on court case on you didn't consult me properly anywhere in the nation than has gone on for the last several decades with this Site C project. I got to tell you, the Trans Mountain people, that's school child level compared to what Site C's been through. So I don't know what you may or may not have heard about what downstream of a major hydroelectric build looks like. I've heard a lot of absolute fabricated nonsense over the years. And I don't want to repeat any of it because I don't want to help any of those idiots out by pushing their message out there, even if I'm doing it in a negative way. My point is, not everybody can get out here to see these things themselves, so I'm showing it to you now. So I don't know what all stories you've heard over the years, but that one part about what it's going to look like downriver during the construction project, I want you to just look yourself. You can compare it to the videos we've been shooting for the last year. You know, other than when we were here in the early summer, the water was up to here where I'm standing now. And maybe in August it might have been a little bit lower than this. But other than that, from this location just barely downstream from the construction site, you can't see anything. And that's the significant mythbuster point that I'm here to make today. But while we're on the subject of hydroelectric development, this is green power. And unlike most green power, this is also the most economical way to power the nation there is. And it's something that we know a great deal about because we've been doing it for a long time. There's nothing experimental here. I can't fathom why the same people that are involved in change our energy balance protests are also involved in don't build these projects process. The other thing I want to point out is, although I'm showing you what a diverted river looks here and now today, this is the third time this river's been diverted. This will be the third use of this water. So again, these same people involved in these protests also love to shout, reuse, recycle, repurpose. This is the biggest scale reuse project you can conceive of. The water that's flowing past me now has powered this province as it came through Site C, or it came through the Bennett Dam rather. It powered this province further when it came through the Peace Canyon Dam. And in another few years, when Site C opens up, it's going to power the province yet a third time. This exact same water. I gotta say, you know, the arguments for various different protests that this country's overrun with are subtly different from one to the other. The fact that I can easily recognize the same protesters on the television set at each site is what ties it all together. And there's a lot of hypocrisy involved. This is what green power looks like when you can afford to buy it. And in another few years, I'll bet you people are going to be shooting videos like this one on the new recreational lake that's going to be just upstream, and people will be talking about that like it's the greatest thing since sliced bread. And I think that's what really the problem that big money and financiers and developers have with our country right now is when is your permit valid? When does yes mean yes? And this doesn't just begin at the provincial and federal government levels. I used to have this question when I was in the union executive too, is when is something ever over? If people can just keep bringing it back to the floor over and over and over again because they didn't like the answer from last time, that's not really how the democratic process is supposed to work. So I'm not necessarily here to propose answers, but I think what Canada could use, and maybe it'd be a good use for our Supreme Court, put them to doing something productive. We need a formula that defines when yes means yes. We need a way for developers to know that now they've got their building permit in hand, they can go ahead and start building. Because I'll tell you what, there's probably $4.5–5 billion spent upstream already, and they still have appeals hanging over their head. Canada's a great place to invest and develop in a lot of ways. We've got beautiful landscape. We've got a great, well-educated workforce. We've got excellent work-life balance. But we have a bureaucratic procedural process that's been almost completely immobilized by a culture that really rose up at the beginning of the 80s in this country that says everybody's always a winner and nobody's ever last. And you know, I blame all of this on that kind of when we started having 10 kids run a 100-yard dash and giving out 10 first place ribbons, right? There's consequences to doing things like that. One of the consequences is you are raising the next generation to believe that answers are never final, that you can always just keep asking over and over again. And that is shockingly different than the way I was raised. I mean, it was a capital offense in our household if you were given an answer by one parent to even dare to appeal it to the other parent, right? Your mother already answered that question. Do not answer it again. So we need to somehow come up with a national version of my dad's wisdom on that, I think, because otherwise there'll be no prosperity for my grandchildren or yours. We got to get this sorted out, right? It's just an unfortunate truth that there is never a path through anything that avoids hurting everybody's feelings. And that's really what this is about. It's very difficult for Canadians to accept that they're going to do something or take an action or make a decision that hurts somebody else's feelings. That's not the right way to make our decisions. The right way to make our decisions is thoughtfully and pragmatically. And if your feelings are hurt, feelings are hurt. And people got to learn to live with that anyway. Just saying. Thanks for joining me on the banks of the beautiful Peace on a nice sunny morning. River diversion. Not as scary as they made you believe it is. Have a nice day.